The Roman 4 line slipped from Zara Campbell's fingers for the third time that morning, and she had to wonder if exhaustion was finally catching up with her after 16 straight days of double shifts at Westridge Memorial Hospital. She steadied her hands, took a breath, and tried again, this time successfully inserting the needle into the port with practiced precision. The patient, an elderly woman recovering from pneumonia, smiled gratefully before drifting back to sleep. Zara's supervising nurse, Margaret, appeared at her elbow with a clipboard. "You're being reassigned, private case effective immediately." "What, Margaret, I have 6 patients on this floor. They'll be covered. This is coming from administration, high-profile patient requesting in-home care. Terminal diagnosis. The family specifically asked for our best nurse, and despite your current zombie-like appearance, that's you." Margaret's expression softened. "It's also triple your current pay, and before you argue, I know you need it." Zara wanted to protest, but Margaret was right. Her mother's medical bills from the car accident last year had buried her in debt she'd never climb out of on a standard nursing salary. She'd been taking every shift available, running herself into the ground, and still barely making the minimum payments. "Who's the patient?" "Benjamin Barrett." "Ever heard of him?" Zara shook her head. "Barrett Pharmaceuticals. One of the largest drug manufacturers in the country. The man's worth billions. He's 42, pancreatic cancer stage 4. Doctors gave him 6 months. That was 5 months ago." The address Margaret gave her was in Windermere Heights, where houses started at 8 figures. Zara drove her 10-year-old Honda through streets lined with gates and security cameras, feeling increasingly out of place. The Barrett estate sat at the end of a private drive, a sprawling modern mansion of glass and stone that looked like something from an architecture magazine. A housekeeper named Dorothy answered the door, her kind face creased with worry. "You must be the nurse. Thank God." "The agency nurses keep quitting. He's difficult." "Difficult how?" "He's angry, won't take his medications half the time, refuses to see doctors. His sister visits twice a week and he barely speaks to her. I think he's just given up." Dorothy led her through rooms filled with expensive furniture that looked barely used. "He's in his study, refuses to stay in bed." The study was all dark wood and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking manicured gardens. Behind a massive desk sat Benjamin Barrett, and despite Margaret's warnings about his condition, Zara wasn't prepared for how vital he looked. Tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair slightly too long and sharp blue eyes that tracked her entrance with obvious irritation. He wore a simple black sweater and jeans, and if she'd passed him on the street, she'd never have guessed he was dying. "Another one," he said flatly. "How long before you run crying to the agency?" "I don't cry easily," Zara replied, setting down her medical bag, "and I don't quit. I'm Zara Campbell, and I'll be providing your care going forward. I don't need care, I need to be left alone. Unfortunately, your medical condition requires regular monitoring, medication management, and symptom control, so you're stuck with me." She pulled out her tablet. "When did you last eat?" "This morning." "What did you have?" "Coffee." "That's not food." "It's all I wanted." Zara met his gaze directly. "Mr. Barrett, I understand you're angry about your diagnosis. That's completely valid. But starving yourself will only make your remaining time more painful. So we can do this the easy way, where you cooperate and maintain some quality of life, or the hard way, where I make your life miserable until you cooperate anyway. Your choice." Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe, or amusement. "The last 3 nurses tiptoed around me like I was made of glass." "You're not glass, you're just sick. There's a difference." She glanced at the medication bottles lined up on a bookshelf, noting the dates. "You haven't taken your pain medication in 3 days." "It makes me foggy. I have work to do." "What work?" "My company doesn't run itself." "Actually, I'm sure you have very competent executives running it. What you need to do is manage your health." She picked up the bottles, reading labels. "The pain will only get worse. Taking the medication now means you can stay functional longer." "You don't understand." "Then explain it to me." Benjamin stood, and she noticed the slight hitch in his movement, the way he favored his left side. The pain was already worse than he was admitting. I built Barrett Pharmaceuticals from nothing. My father died when I was 23, left me a failing generic drug manufacturer drowning in debt. I spent 20 years turning it into an industry leader. We develop medications that save lives. And now I'm dying from the one disease we don't have a cure for. The irony isn't lost on me. That must be incredibly frustrating. Frustrating, he laughed bitterly. It's absurd. I've donated millions to cancer research, funded entire wings of research hospitals, and none of it matters. Zara pulled out a pill organizer. Maybe not, but what matters now is how you spend your remaining time. You can spend it angry and in pain, or you can accept help and maybe find some peace. Peace. He said the word like it was foreign. I don't think I remember what that feels like. Then let's start small. Lunch, real food, not coffee. When he started to protest, she held up a hand. You're right that the pain medication makes you foggy, but if you eat properly and stay hydrated, the side effects are much less severe. Work with me here. He studied her for a long moment, and she had the unsettling feeling of being thoroughly assessed. Finally, he nodded. Fine, but I have calls this afternoon. After lunch and medication, you can have your calls. Dorothy seemed shocked when Zara emerged from the study with Benjamin following. They ate in a sunlit breakfast room, and Zara kept the conversation deliberately light, asking about the gardens, the house, anything except his illness. She noticed he barely touched the food at first, but gradually began eating more as she distracted him with questions. The medication went down without argument, and she left him to his calls, spending the time reviewing his medical files. The diagnosis was grim. Pancreatic cancer discovered late, already metastasized. Chemotherapy had failed. Radiation had bought him some time but wreaked havoc on his body. Now it was purely palliative care, managing symptoms, trying to maintain dignity and comfort in whatever time remained, 4 to 6 weeks, according to the latest oncologist's notes. Maybe less. Over the following days, they developed a routine. Zara arrived at 8 each morning, finding Benjamin already in his study despite her instructions to rest. She'd coax him into breakfast, manage his medications, monitor his vitals. He took business calls, reviewed reports, maintained an illusion of normalcy even as his body betrayed him incrementally. "Tell me about your family," he asked one morning, surprising her. They'd maintained mostly professional distance, though the lines were blurring as they spent 12 hours a day together. Not much to tell, just me and my mom. Dad left when I was 6. Siblings? No, it's always been just us. She raised me while working 2 jobs, put me through nursing school. Then last year she was in a car accident. Head trauma, months of rehab, medical bills that never stop coming. She hadn't meant to share that much, but something about Benjamin's direct gaze made honesty easier. That's why you work so much. It's why I took this job. The pay is keeping us afloat. I'm glad my dying can help someone at least. Don't do that. Do what? Make jokes about it. You're allowed to be angry or sad or scared. You don't have to be glib. His expression shifted, walls coming down slightly. Being glib is easier than admitting I'm terrified. Zara set down the blood pressure cuff. Of death. Of having wasted my life. I built an empire. I have money I'll never spend. A house I barely live in. No wife, no kids, no one who'll really miss me when I'm gone. My sister will be sad for a while, but she has her own family. What did I actually accomplish? I made money, that's it. You made medications that help people. You employ thousands, that matters. Does it? I can't remember the last time I did something just because I wanted to, not because it served the business. I haven't taken a vacation in 8 years. Haven't been on a date in 3. I've been so focused on building something that I forgot to build a life. The pain in his voice was raw, and Zara found herself moving closer, her hand covering his. You still have time, not a lot, but some. What would you do if you could? Everything. Nothing. I don't even know anymore. His sister Brielle visited that afternoon, a polished woman in her late 30s with Benjamin's same sharp eyes. She pulled Zara aside while Benjamin rested. How's he really doing? Physically, about what we'd expect. The pain is manageable for now. Emotionally, he's struggling. He won't talk to me, we've never been that close. Benjamin's always been so focused on the company, on succeeding. I think he saw our father's failure as this thing he had to correct, and it consumed him. Brielle's eyes were sad. I wish he'd let someone in. He deserves to be loved before the end. After Brielle left, Zara found Benjamin standing at the window, looking out at the gardens. The afternoon light caught the angles of his face, and she noticed how much thinner he'd gotten even in the week she'd known him. Time was running out faster than any of them wanted to admit. Your sister loves you very much, Zara said quietly. I know, I haven't been a very good brother, too busy working. Maybe spend some real time with her, talk to her, it would mean a lot. Maybe. He turned to face her. Why did you become a nurse? My mom's accident. Watching the nurses care for her, seeing how much difference they made, I wanted to help people the way they helped us. You're good at it. Not just the medical stuff, the other part, making me want to take the damn medications, making me eat. I haven't wanted to do anything in months. That's the job. No, it's more than that, you actually care. She did care, Zara realized with a start, more than she should for a patient. Somewhere in the daily routines and honest conversations, Benjamin had become more than just a client. She looked forward to their morning talks, found herself thinking about him during her evenings at home. Noticed how his rare smiles made her heart beat faster. This was dangerous territory. He was her patient. He was dying. Getting attached would only lead to heartbreak. But it was already too late. The shift happened gradually, then all at once. Benjamin started requesting her presence even when medical care wasn't needed. They'd have dinner together in the breakfast room, talking about everything from philosophy to favorite movies. He showed her his company's research labs via video call, his passion for the work evident in how he explained their latest drug trials. She told him about nursing school, her mother's recovery, the little house they shared across town. Come with me tomorrow, he said one evening. I want to show you something. You're supposed to be limiting physical activity. It's not far, please. She drove them in his Tesla to a children's hospital across the city. Benjamin was known there, she discovered. Kids called out to him as they walked through the cancer ward. He knew names, remembered details about their treatments, asked about siblings and school. I've been funding this wing for 10 years, he explained as they stood in the playroom, watching children with Roman IV poles playing video games. Pediatric cancer research. These kids deserve better treatments, better outcomes. Every dollar we make goes toward that. Zara watched him interact with a 6-year-old girl, crouching down despite the obvious pain it caused, listening seriously as she explained her drawing. This was the real Benjamin Barrett. Not the bitter man she'd met that first day, but someone who cared deeply, who used his resources to make actual differences in lives. They don't know you're sick, she said as they drove back. No, and I won't tell them, they have enough to worry about. Benjamin, what you're doing here matters. These kids and their families, they're better off because of you. I wish I'd spent more time here, less time in boardrooms. He looked out the window. I wish I'd done a lot of things differently. That night, lying in bed, Zara admitted the truth to herself. She was falling in love with Benjamin Barrett. It was impossibly foolish. He had weeks left at most. This could only end in grief. But the heart didn't care about logic or timelines. It just felt what it felt. She started staying later each day, long past when her shift technically ended. They'd watch movies in his home theater, or she'd read to him when the pain made concentration difficult. He was on higher doses of medication now, sleeping more, his body showing the accelerating decline. One evening, 3 weeks into her assignment, Benjamin reached for her hand as they sat watching the sunset through the study windows. I need to tell you something. Okay, I'm glad you're here. Not just as a nurse, as you, I look forward to seeing you every morning. You make me want to keep fighting even when it feels pointless. It's not pointless. Zara, I'm dying. Probably faster than anyone wants to admit. The pain is getting worse. I'm sleeping 16 hours a day. We both know what's coming. I know. And I know this is completely inappropriate and unfair, but I need you to know that I care about you, more than I should, more than I have any right to." Her throat tightened. "Benjamin, you don't have to say anything, I just needed you to know. These past weeks have been the best of my life, which is absurd considering the circumstances, but it's true. You make me feel alive." Zara's eyes burned with tears she'd been holding back for days. "I care about you too, so much it scares me." He cupped her face with a hand that trembled slightly from weakness. I'm sorry I met you when it's too late. I'm sorry this is all the time we'll get." "Then let's make it count." When he kissed her, it was gentle and desperate and full of everything they couldn't say. Zara knew she was breaking every professional boundary, that this was emotional suicide, but she didn't care. For whatever time they had left, she wanted this. She wanted him. They spent every moment together after that. Benjamin made arrangements to work from bed, too weak now to maintain the pretense of normalcy. Zara moved into one of the guest rooms, essentially living at the estate. They talked through the nights when pain kept him awake, her presence providing comfort the medications couldn't. "Marry me," he said one morning, his voice weak but certain. "What? I know it's insane. I know we've only known each other a month, but I love you, Zara. I want whatever time we have left to be as your husband." "Benjamin, that's not necessary. I'm here, I'm not going anywhere. I want to give you everything. The house, the company's stock, financial security. I want your mother taken care of, every medical bill paid. I want to know you'll be okay when I'm gone. I don't want your money, I want you. Then do this for me, please. Let me take care of you. It's the only thing I can still do." They married 3 days later in the estate garden, with Dorothy and Brielle as witnesses and a hospice chaplain officiating. Benjamin wore a dark suit despite how much weight he'd lost, standing with visible effort. Zara wore a simple white dress Dorothy had frantically shopped for. The ceremony was brief because Benjamin's strength was limited, but when he said his vows, his voice was steady. "I, Benjamin James Barrett, take you, Zara Marie Campbell, to be my wife. I promise to love you with everything I have, for however long I have. You've given me more happiness in 1 month than I found in 42 years. Thank you for saying yes to this crazy plan." Zara's vows came through tears. "I, Zara Marie Campbell, take you, Benjamin James Barrett, to be my husband. I promise to stand beside you, to care for you, to love you through whatever comes. You've shown me what it means to truly live, even in the face of death. I'm honored to be your wife." Brielle cried through the entire ceremony. Afterwards, she hugged Zara tightly. "Thank you for making him happy. I haven't seen him smile like this in years, maybe ever." The wedding night was bittersweet. They lay together in Benjamin's bed, her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. The physical aspect of marriage was beyond his capabilities now, but the intimacy of simply being together, belonging to each other, was enough. "Tell me about the future," he whispered. "The one where I don't die. What would we do?" Zara played along, painting pictures with words. "We'd travel. I've always wanted to see Italy. We'd rent a villa in Tuscany, drink wine, eat too much pasta. You'd learn to slow down, to enjoy moments instead of rushing to the next thing. Would we have kids? Maybe, 2, I think, a boy and a girl. They'd have your intelligence and your passion for helping people. They'd have your kindness, your strength." His hand found hers in the darkness. "I wish I could give you that future. You're giving me this present, that's enough. But it wasn't enough time, it would never be enough time." Benjamin's decline accelerated rapidly after that. The doctors had been wrong about weeks. It was days. He slept most of the time now, waking for brief periods of clarity between medication doses. Zara administered morphine, adjusted his position to prevent bed sores, held his hand through the worst of the pain. Brielle visited daily, sitting on the other side of the bed, talking about childhood memories, telling Benjamin she loved him. The house filled with flowers from well-wishers, though few visitors were allowed. Benjamin had made it clear he wanted privacy, wanted only people he loved in those final days. On a Tuesday morning, 4 days after their wedding, Benjamin woke more alert than he'd been in days. Zara helped him sit up, fluffed pillows behind him. His color was terrible, his breathing labored, but his eyes were clear. "I need to tell you something," he said. "Something I should have said a long time ago. Save your strength. No, listen, the company, everything, it's in a trust for you. But there's a condition. I need you to promise me something. Anything, live, really live. Don't spend the next 20 years working yourself to death like I did. Travel, fall in love again, have those kids, build the life we don't get to build together." "Benjamin, I don't want to think about that. I need you to promise, please. I need to know that something good comes from all this, that you'll be happy." Through tears, Zara nodded. "I promise I'll live enough for both of us." "That's my girl," he smiled, the expression weak but genuine. "I won. Your mom's bills are paid. The house is transferred to your name. There's a fund set up, enough that you never have to worry about money. I wish I could give you more time, but I can give you freedom. You've given me everything that matters." They spent the day together, mostly in silence. Words felt unnecessary. Zara lay beside him, careful of the Roman 4 lines and monitors, just holding him. His breathing grew more erratic as evening approached. The hospice nurse checked in, confirmed what Zara already knew. Hours, not days, Brielle arrived as the sun set, sitting vigil with them. Dorothy brought tea no one drank. The 3 women who loved Benjamin watched him slip away by degrees, his breath growing shallower, the pauses between each inhalation longer. Near midnight, Benjamin opened his eyes one last time. "Zara, I'm here, I'm right here. Thank you for loving me." "Thank you for letting me," he smiled, squeezed her hand with what little strength remained and closed his eyes. 3 breaths later, he was gone. The grief was overwhelming, crushing, endless. Zara had known it was coming, had thought she was prepared, but nothing could prepare for the reality of losing him. The world continued turning, indifferent to the fact that an extraordinary man had just left it. She went through the motions of funeral arrangements, accepting condolences from people who'd never known the real Benjamin, the one who visited sick children and fell in love with his nurse. The funeral was held at the Children's Hospital Chapel. The pediatric cancer ward was there in full force, kids and families whose lives Benjamin had touched. Speaker after speaker told stories of his generosity, his vision, his impact on medical research. Zara listened, grateful they understood what she'd known. Benjamin Barrett had mattered. His life had meant something. In the weeks after, she discovered the full extent of what he'd arranged. Not just the house and her mother's bills, but a foundation in his name dedicated to pancreatic cancer research. He'd asked that she serve on the board if she wanted. There were letters, too, dozens of them, written in those final weeks when pain had allowed. Letters to be opened on her birthday, on holidays, on future anniversaries of their impossibly short marriage. She opened the first one a month after his death, needing to hear his voice again. "My dear Zara," it began in his sharp handwriting. "If you're reading this, I'm gone and you're grieving. I'm sorry for the pain my death causes you, but I need you to remember something. The month we had together was worth everything. Every moment of pain, every fear, every loss. You taught me what it meant to be truly alive, to love without reservation, to face death without bitterness. You gave me peace. You gave me joy. You gave me a reason to fight even when fighting was pointless. That is an extraordinary gift. Thank you for it. Now keep your promise. Live, be happy. Fall in love again when you're ready. Some might say it's disrespectful to my memory, but I say the opposite. The greatest honor you can give me is to embrace life fully the way I never did until I met you. You showed me how. Now go show the world I love you always. Benjamin." Zara read it 3 times, tears streaming down her face, but something shifted inside her. Benjamin was right. Drowning in grief wasn't honoring his memory. Living was. She started slowly. Reduced her work hours at the hospital, though she continued nursing because she loved it. Spent real time with her mother, who was thriving now without the constant stress of medical debt. Traveled to Italy 6 months after Benjamin's death, walking the streets of Florence and Rome, thinking of the future they'd imagined together. A year later, she opened another letter, this one marked first anniversary. Benjamin had written about hope, about the future, about his belief that she would find happiness again. He described what he imagined her life might look like, the children they'd never have, the love she deserved to find. "Don't put me on a pedestal," he wrote. "We had one beautiful month. That's all. I was a dying man who got lucky enough to meet someone extraordinary. But you have years ahead of you, decades. Fill them with love and adventure and purpose. That's my final wish for you." The foundation grew, funding groundbreaking research. Zara became deeply involved, channeling her grief into purpose. She met patients, advocated for better treatment options, helped raise millions for studies that might eventually save lives. Benjamin's legacy lived on, larger than his business empire, more meaningful than his wealth. 2 years after his death, Zara met someone. A researcher at the foundation, kind and patient, who understood her past and didn't try to compete with a ghost. They took things slowly, but something real developed. She opened up to love again, just as Benjamin had wanted. On what would have been their 3rd anniversary, she opened that year's letter. Benjamin described how proud he was of her, though he couldn't possibly know what she'd accomplished. It was as if he'd known her so completely in their short time together that he could predict who she'd become. "I see you thriving," he wrote. "Using everything I left you to build a life of purpose and joy. I see you loving again, letting someone new into your heart. Good, that's exactly right. You had enough love to save a dying man's soul. Imagine what you can do with a lifetime. I'm watching over you, my brave girl. I'm so proud. I love you. Keep going." Zara stood at Benjamin's grave, flowers in hand, sun warm on her face. 3 years gone, but his impact remained. She'd kept her promise. She was living fully, loving openly, making the most of every moment. "Thank you," she whispered to the headstone. "Thank you for showing me what love could be. Thank you for giving me the freedom to live. I'm happy, Benjamin, really happy. And I know that would make you happy too." The wind rustled through the trees, and she chose to believe it was his answer. 5 years after Benjamin's death, Zara stood in the hospital chapel where they'd held his funeral, but this time for a celebration. The foundation was dedicating a new research wing, funded by Barrett Pharmaceuticals and bearing Benjamin's name. Breakthrough treatments developed. There were already changing survival rates for pancreatic cancer patients. Brielle stood beside her, now a close friend. "He'd be so proud of you, of this. We did it together, all of us. But you were the catalyst. You loved him when he'd given up. You showed him his life had meaning. That inspired all of this." The man Zara had been dating, now her fiancé, joined them. Thomas understood that Benjamin would always hold a special place in her heart, that the month they'd shared had shaped who she'd become. He didn't see it as competition, but as part of her story, and he loved all of her. That night, Zara opened the final letter, marked simply, "When you're ready." "My darling Zara," Benjamin's handwriting read, "if you're reading this last letter, then years have passed. I hope they've been good years. Years filled with love and laughter and all the things I wanted to give you but couldn't. I hope you've fallen in love again. I hope you're building the future we imagined together, even if I can't be part of it physically. Know that I'm with you in spirit, cheering you on, grateful beyond words that our paths crossed. You saved me, Zara, not from death, but from a life without meaning. In my final weeks, I experienced more genuine happiness than most people find in a lifetime. That's because of you. Your compassion, your strength, your extraordinary heart. Thank you for saying yes to caring for a difficult terminal patient. Thank you for seeing past the anger and fear to the man underneath. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for letting me love you. Go forth now with my blessing and my eternal gratitude. Build a beautiful life. Fill it with joy. And maybe, occasionally, think of the grumpy billionaire who got one perfect month because you walked into his study and refused to be intimidated. I love you always in this life and whatever comes after. Yours forever, Benjamin. Zara folded the letter carefully, tears running down her face, but she was smiling. Benjamin had given her so much more than money or security. He'd given her the gift of understanding what truly mattered. Love. Connection. Purpose. Making the most of whatever time you're given, 6 months later she married Thomas in the estate garden, the same place she'd married Benjamin. It felt right, honoring that past while embracing the future. Dorothy was there, now retired but still family. Brielle was her matron of honor, and Zara wore a locket with Benjamin's photo inside, keeping him close to her heart. Life moved forward. Zara and Thomas had 2 children, just as she'd once imagined with Benjamin, a boy and a girl, both healthy and happy. She told them about Uncle Benjamin, the generous man who'd made their comfortable life possible. They visited his grave on his birthday, leaving flowers, sharing stories. The foundation continued changing lives. Barrett Pharmaceuticals funded studies that led to new treatments. Survival rates improved. Families got more time together. Benjamin's legacy grew far beyond what he'd built in his 42 years, and Zara lived, fully, joyfully, purposefully. She traveled with Thomas, raised her children with love, continued nursing part-time because it fed her soul. She embraced every moment, knowing how precious and fleeting time could be. On the 10-year anniversary of Benjamin's death, she returned to his grave alone. The headstone was weathered now, covered in moss around the edges. She traced his name with her fingers. "I kept my promise," she said softly. "I lived enough for both of us. I found love again. I had those children. I'm happy, Benjamin, really, truly happy, and it's because of you, because you showed me what matters. Because you loved me enough to let me go, to insist I build a life after you were gone. That was the greatest gift anyone has ever given me." The sun broke through clouds, casting light across the cemetery. Zara smiled through her tears. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything, for loving me. For saving me even as I tried to save you. For giving me unlimited love in our limited time. I'll carry it with me always." She stood, placed a kiss on her fingers, and pressed them to the cold stone. Then she walked back to where Thomas and the kids waited in the car, back to the beautiful life she'd built, back to the future Benjamin had wanted for her. Behind her, if she'd looked back, she might have seen sun glinting off the headstone inscription. Benjamin James Barrett. Beloved brother, husband, humanitarian. He lived fully in the end, and that made all the difference. It was true. In those final weeks, Benjamin had truly lived, and because of him, so did Zara. Every single day.